Welcome to the Create Your Happy podcast, where conscious female creators come together with a shared vision to inspire and empower women as they learn how to fully embrace their humanness, find their unique voice, and collaborate on how together we can change the world. I'm your host, Christy Holt, happiness coach and conscious funpreneur on a mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. All right, gorgeous, it's time to get curious and become inspired. It's time to create your happy. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hello.
I'm so excited to have you here and have this conversation, my beautiful friend. Welcome to the show. Sarah Ibrahim is a recovery coach, spiritual life coach, and a business coach. She is highly intuitive. Spirituality is really important to Sarah as it underpins all of her endeavors. She absolutely loves a good card pull and sharing the messages that people really need to hear in that moment. And also pizza. Sarah and I both share an immense love for pizza. Sarah is a single mom from Essex in the UK. She has a 3-year-old son who has been the biggest catalyst for radical change in her life, and she's had a massive transformation I can't wait for her to share. After having spent the last 11 months in recovery from a cocaine addiction that basically took over her entire adult life, she now is passionate about working with other women in recovery to help them to rebuild their life after overcoming addiction. Sarah helps her clients to connect more deeply with themselves, heal any stories of the past, and to create a life of passion and purpose. She shows her clients that life after addiction is truly a beautiful place to be. So welcome to the show, Sarah. First, I'd love to just hear a little bit more about who you are and your story and what you've overcome in order to get to this place of really living in your happy life.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here, Christy.
Yeah.
Love what you're doing. So, God, where to begin? It's just like, okay, this is 40 years of my life that I'm trying to cram into a quick 30 minutes. So,
Yeah.
to keep it succinct, let's start with the big stuff.
Yeah.
So, I basically was a cocaine addict for a very long time. There's a whole series of events that led up to that, which we haven't really got time to go into right now. But suffice to say, my dad died when I was 17, and a kind of downward spiral started. Now, I didn't link those two events at the time at all, not one bit. Which, looking back, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, seriously, come on. And I got into a relationship with a guy who was like 11 years older than me, and he would beat me black and blue, and he was mentally abusive and all of the things. Got out of that, and then started meeting guys that were really heavily into the coke scene. Now, at the time, ecstasy was my poison. I would love going out partying 3 days on end, no problem at all for me. This was my life. Lived for it until I got to like 27. So this is about 8 years, right, of taking coke casually. And it wasn't a problem for me in the sense that I didn't want it, didn't crave it, certainly didn't seek it out. I wasn't bothered about it.
Yeah.
And somehow that all completely changed. And I didn't even notice it happening, is the truth, which is, again, scary, right? So from 27, I started to work in a bar where coke was like as commonly sold as lager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it basically became the reason why I went to work. I never made any money in that job because I just literally did it to pay the dealers, of which there were plenty.
Yeah.
And I loved it again. So I believed at that time, Christy, this is the thing for me, right? At that time, I believed that I was having fun.
Yeah.
I believed that I was choosing this. I believed that I was a party girl. This is just how I was. And I constructed this whole persona. So I was very generous. I was very loud. I was very funny. But I still am very memorable. People don't tend to forget me in a hurry. But I created this construct of a person that I thought made me untouchable. And I realise now, I've just realised as I'm saying it, I created this version of myself that I thought couldn't be hurt like the way I was hurting because my dad died. My dad left me. Right? And it just went radically downhill over the next 13 years. So I gave up coke 11 months ago now, and everything has just changed so dramatically. But leading up to that point was the pandemic, the lockdown. Yeah. So I live with my mum, and I've also got a 3-year-old boy. He was 2 at the time, or maybe he was 1.5 even. And we're suddenly cooped up in this house. My business wasn't taking off. You know, I was constantly throwing things out there. Any other entrepreneurs that are listening to this will surely relate to that hamster wheel where you're like, you try,
Relate.
try, try, and you're doing all the things and you're gaining the traction and you're being seen. People are loving you. And then you're like, oh, fuck, this might actually work. Let me just hide.
Ah,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
And you go back and you retreat, which retreating for me looked like getting obliterated. And that would last for like 3 or 4 days. And then I'd be like, shit, now I haven't shown up on social media. What am I going to write? So then I wouldn't write anything. And so then the fifth day would come around and I'd be like, oh, holy fuck, now what are people going to think? So, and you can see where I'm going with this, yeah?
Yeah.
And it got harder and harder to start again. Every time I stopped the train, right,
Yeah.
of momentum,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
fucking hard to start again, right? And yet I kept doing it and I kept doing it and I kept doing it. And I was distraught. Christy, have you ever had a launch where you have thrown every single piece of you at it, believing, believing, believing?
Yep.
You know, we believe it before we see it and all of that stuff that we spout out, right?
And then
And then nada.
yeah.
Absolutely diddly fucking squat.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, right,
Just,
well, everyone
oh,
thinks I'm an asshole. Obviously, what I've got is crap. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know why I bothered to try. And then everyone else in your ear, like my mum, is like, you know, well, don't you think you should maybe try and get a proper job? You know, and stuff
right.
like this.
Yep.
Just, oh,
I have an ex in my history that quite often referred to what I was doing as a coach as not a real job. So I'm resonating there.
yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, until you learn to develop that resilience, and I think actually we have to have these quote unquote failures in order to develop the resilience to continue this entrepreneurial journey, because this is where like we separate the wheat from the chaff basically. If you're just going to go crying home to mummy because nobody bought your shit, like, well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're not ready to be an entrepreneur, right?
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I went crying home to mummy, yeah, and then I remembered who the fuck I was after a while and I did it again and I still didn't sell anything. I went crying to mummy, you know. And I did do that a few times, so there's no shame in feeling defeated at times, but
Yeah.
it's what you do from there that counts, right? So I
Yes.
kept getting back up until one day I realised, you know, I don't think this cake thing is really serving me. Um, I think this might be a bit of a problem, right? And at this point, I'd spent like 500 quid in 10 days. My nose was so bright red, it could be seen from fucking outer space, right? I hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't done anything apart from smoke fags and drink Corona. Uh, and I'm trying to hide it from my mum. And I've got a child that gets up at like 5 in the morning. And I'm just like, please, somebody just punch me in the face right now. And so the obvious answer to that for an addict is to get on it again, right? Because it's the only way through. But you don't even want it by then. You're on day 3. You don't even want it. But you've got no other option than to continue with this route that you've chosen because anything else just seems hellish.
Oh.
And so I just finally got to breaking point where I was just like, this is just, it's got to go. It's got to go. So I decided that was it and I stopped. I stopped on the 15th of May, 2021. 4 days later, I joined a coaching mastermind and I joined another coaching program on the same day. So I committed myself to £300 of payment per month, which honestly, I didn't fucking know where I was getting £300 a month from. But what I did know is that if you told me that I could have like a shit ton of coke for £300, I would beg, steal,
Find
borrow.
it.
I would make that shit happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I'm only 4 days given up. But if I commit this, then I can't do that. Right. Because
Yeah.
there's just no way that I can generate 600. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I joined this coaching program, this mastermind, and we started doing this piece of work about finding your purpose. Christy, you're a coach. Tell me, how many times have you done this piece of work about finding your purpose? Yeah. If I said to you, you're gonna come in a program with me and we're gonna find your purpose, like, what are you thinking to yourself? I know my fucking purpose. I've done this like a billion times. Like,
Yeah.
what new is gonna come up? Yeah. This is what I thought, but I thought, you know what? I've paid money for this program. Let me just have a little poke around and find my purpose
See it
again,
through. Yeah.
just in case. And so I did this whole big beautiful thing. And I looked at it and I was like, I put 6 fucking hours of work into that and it's a lie. Um, it is a lie. Like,
Yeah.
it is missing what's really on my heart and what's on my soul, which is to work with other women who are trying to escape that chokehold of addiction
Yeah.
and work out what the fuck to do with their lives now that they've given it up. But I couldn't put that on my little sheet with my purpose, because if I said that, then I was going to have to do something about it. And in order to do something about it, I was going to have to speak about it publicly. And in that case, I would have to tell my mum and I would have to tell the world. And I was just like, no,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yep. Stay safe,
But
please, right? Stay safe in your
uh-huh,
safe little zone.
the thing is, once I knew that I knew, then that was me fucked, basically. I was like, great, now I know. I just can't not do anything about it. Now I know. Like I didn't know before, so that
Yeah.
was okay.
Yeah.
Now I know. And if I don't do anything, then, what does that mean about me? Right?
Yeah.
So and I remember I was in the laundrette, living the dream, as you do, in the laundrette. And I was on messaging my coach and I was like, oh, Vicky, I can't tell my mum. What if she rings social services? What if I lose my child? What if this? What if that? And she was like, you know what you need to do. And I had this sudden epiphany and I was like, all of these stories are absolute bullshit. Even though they may hold some truth, I could have come home and told my mum. She could have called the police. She could have called social services. Would that have been worse than continuing to live a complete and total fucking lie? The only reason why I hadn't told my mum up to that point was because I was scared to hold myself to that highest level of accountability in case I went back on my word to myself.
Yeah.
And I
Lack of
just thought, no,
self-trust, hey?
this is it. I just thought,
Yeah.
no, now this is the time. This is the time. So I came home from laundry, I sat my mum down. I was 39 years old, and I was like, Mum, I've been sniffing coke like it's going out of fashion in your house with my child here. He was asleep. Let me just be clear about that. I was never like racking
Yeah.
up in front of him. Um, and I was expecting this massive explosion, and well, what I just said basically. And actually, she was really understanding, and she was really, I don't say cool. She was never like shaking my hand and patting me on the fucking back, but she
Yeah.
didn't
It
run
didn't
me
go as
out.
badly as you expected.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, I told the entire world on Facebook, and with a view to holding myself accountable. That was literally for me. Yeah. 1,100 people have viewed that fucking video now. And I'm just like, what? I never intended to have that reach, that impact, it wasn't. And my intention was never to become famous, not that I am famous, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But with that action, I realized, shit, this is my power. This is my superpower. This is what the fuck I'm here to do. I said that in my purpose. I'm missing the addiction piece. And as soon as all I did was tell my own story, everyone wanted to listen. And I was like, oh, I think there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And suddenly, we started to gather momentum. Only this time I'm not out my fucking nut. And
Yeah.
so consistency is much less of a problem for me now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really just about having that opportunity to sort of share who you really are with that vulnerability, that courageous vulnerability to actually put that out there, you know, putting aside the fears that maybe people won't receive it well, or people might not want to be associated with you, or whatever other kind of fears. And these are sort of general fears for any business owner too, I think, when we're putting ourselves out there, or hell, even in a relationship, when you're vulnerably putting yourself out there, you're risking it. And it takes a lot of courage to step up and be completely authentic and be true to
Mm,
who you are. And so many women out there, myself included, spend so much of our lives hiding that away. We're hiding behind a good girl persona, or people pleasing tendencies, or perfectionism. So we're actually just playing really small and not living into who we truly are. So that sounds like that was a really vulnerable but super authentic share for you. And man, that authenticity it's pretty magical and magnetic, right? When people hear what's actually coming from your heart, it really resonates on a whole nother level, wouldn't you say?
yeah. Well, this was it. So I wasn't expecting a massive outpouring of love and support and just recognition about what courage it must have taken to own my truth. Honestly, Christy, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think, oh my God, like I'm going to tell the world and like shit myself about it. I was just like, okay, today's the day to tell my story. So I just did it. It
Yeah.
was a very snotty production, don't get me wrong, but I just did it. And it's only when people share their perspectives of it, I'm like, actually, do you know, maybe not everybody is like this. When it's just you, yeah. I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is just me. Like I'm an open book, so let me just tell this story. But I did have stories. I had stories like, who is ever going to buy a coaching program from a coke addict? how is anything I say ever going to have credibility ever again? Well, what actually happened was the struggle had been real for 2 whole freaking years in terms of making money in my business. And within the next 10 weeks, I made 10K. I was
Yeah.
like, ah, interesting. And what I realized is that I was started to walk my talk, right? So
Yeah.
all this time I had been trying to show people about how to find their purpose, how to show up authentically, how to, really step into their power. Was I doing it? Mm-mm. And that is where it was falling down because
Yeah.
leaders go first, right? I
Yeah.
can't get you a result that I haven't got myself yet. Like, that doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. It's definitely
So,
easier to lead from uh, a, well, it's easier to lead when you're a role model and example. You've experienced some of these things. Not to say that you can't help direct people when you haven't done it yourself, because sometimes you're in a space to be able to guide people,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But leading the way is a far superior way, and a little bit more effective at bringing people along with you.
yeah. I think especially when it comes to addiction recovery, lived experience is.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting down doctors because fuck, they've got a whole lot that I
Yeah.
haven't. But at the end of the day, a person goes to a doctor or a person comes to me, the doctor's going to send them away with a pill or send them to some fellowship meeting where I am able to communicate with them on a level of somebody that has been there and that will walk alongside them and support them in their recovery and understand what the fuck they're going through.
Yeah, it's like kind of reminds me of like when you go to maybe a male doctor for when you're having a baby, and just their perspective isn't the same, right? They haven't had a baby, they don't have the same
That was a
um
really good analogy. I love it.
the same equipment that we have. And so the relatability is just not quite there. They have the knowledge, they have the skills, they can guide you, but the
Of course.
relatability factor is missing. And
Yeah.
the having been there and experienced it piece is huge, especially when
Exactly.
you're doing a personal inner work, personal growth journey. Like having someone who has been there and experienced those things, it just takes it to a different level.
Yeah. I mean, everything has its place, of course, like by all means use a doctor as well as a
Of
recovery
course.
coach, as well as, peer support, whatever it is that works for you. Like, I'm not here to say there's one way to recover.
Of
Absolutely
course.
not. And
Yeah.
actually, that's a fundamental part of what I believe about recovery and what I will always encourage people to see is that actually there's many, many ways to recover. Recovery doesn't have to be 100% abstinence. Recovery doesn't have to be going to 90 meetings in 90 days. Recovery doesn't have to be having a higher power. There's no rule. You are in recovery if you say that you are. And that's
Yeah.
that's the end of it. And whatever it looks like for you, I'm really happy for you.
Yeah. That's amazing. So we talked a little bit about walking your talk. I'd love for you to share with the
Mm.
listeners a little bit about what that looks like in your world. How do you walk your talk? And now I know we just said there's not just one way. So this is just your story and how you're doing it, not
Mhm.
a prescription, if you will, for how to do it, but one example.
Yeah, but I think the important thing to pay attention to is the things that you preach to others, right?
Mm.
And I don't mean that in a necessarily a bad way, like, you stand above people and tell them what to do. But what are the things that you constantly find yourself talking about and encouraging people to do? What's the advice that's constantly rolling off your tongue? Because actually, that's giving you a clue as to what you need to do for yourself, is what
Yeah.
I've come to realize. Yeah. Like,
Mm.
it's really easy to dish this stuff out. Like, show up authentically. Yeah. Just do it. And then to realize, oh yeah, I've been hiding this coke habit from the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
hello, right? But this is the thing that I was talking about most frequently, and so that's like just a tip to to give you a clue as to what your own thing might be. But for me right now, my God, well, you know this story, Christy, anyway. But I have recently rebranded my business as the Recovery Witch, and this word just carries so much. I mean, it's so fucking loaded, yeah.
Yeah, it can be.
Um, with negativity,
Yeah.
right? And people are imagining, cutting off newts' legs and boiling them in a fucking cauldron, sticking pins in a voodoo doll and devil
Yeah.
worship and all of that. And I'm not here to knock anybody's beliefs or their practices or any of that stuff, yeah.
Of course.
So my own family turn against me and they're like, "This is disgusting. Can't do that. You need to stop. I don't want anything to do with you." you know, it's a fucking hard, lonely road to walk. To either, it's like, and I did a TikTok video about this just yesterday. We have this line where it's like, okay, you toe this line and you stay on the side of keeping everybody else feeling safe with your behaviours and what you're doing and being who they think you should be. Or you follow the big fucking sign that says my path. Because you know what? That's
Way.
exactly what it is. My path. Yeah. And sometimes that path is covered up with fucking undergrowth and prickles and,
Yeah.
you know, it's a little bit dark down there. And we don't know where it's going to go. Or there's the nicely lit up, you know, nice, comfortable fucking pathway, the yellow brick road.
Familiar.
Yes, of
Yeah. Safe.
familiarity, right? So what do you choose? You come to this fork in the road and it's like, And so I actually chose to just, you know, go down the dark route with the undergrowth because I've realised, you know what, I did not get clean to fucking stay small. I did not get clean to make everybody else happy. I did this for me, for my son, right? And in doing so, and the journey that I've shared with you today, like, you know, the video on Facebook and all that stuff, realizing that I hold this massive gift, right? That actually, when I speak about shit, people are engaged and they want to listen, right? And even to say those words makes me feel like I'm just like, oh my God, it's so amazing. But
Well,
that's
you
not what I'm
are.
saying. Well, I mean, there is. Um, but, you know, when you are when you know that you are here to make a fucking impact, when you understand that you are here to help people to understand things that you maybe not don't yet understand yourself,
Yeah.
right? And then how does that make sense? It doesn't even make sense with our logical brains, but I feel that as a truth in my heart. When you know that you are here to guide people, to lead people, to heal people, when you are here to do something fucking big, ain't nobody standing in my way going, well, you can't call yourself that. How about I call myself what I fucking like? How
Yeah.
about
Step
that?
into it. And honestly, we're doing, you know, everybody and ourselves a disservice by hiding away and sort of staying in that safe, familiar zone,
Yeah.
refusing to let those parts of us
How?
to see the light of day just because we're worried what someone else might think, right? And so stepping into that boldly changes everything, and it does absolutely make you magnetic as fuck to be real and authentic and boldly express yourself in a way that feels natural and right to you instead of always operating on this filtered safe sort of good girl, you know, fitting the molds, staying inside your comfort zone sort of space, right?
Yeah, and that's not to knock, you know, anybody that's not ready to make a big bold move. I'm not
Of
suggesting that
course.
you alienate your fucking family for a second. However, what I am saying is when you come to that point, that fork in the road, you'll know if you're there, right? And you'll know if you're ready to step into it or not. And like, I've never been at this place before where I'm like, oh, should I choose my power or should I stay small? I was just staying small because I had this drug problem that was taking over everything. So I didn't have this clarity, this fucking ability to see what's right in front of me. But now, every day, I'm getting stronger. Every day, my vision, my purpose, my goals are more and more integrated into my fucking soul. Every day, I see signs around me from the universe that show me, Sarah, just keep going. Just
Yeah.
keep going. People, circumstances, events, everything is just coming into my path without me doing a damn thing. And
Yeah.
there's a reason for that. When a student is ready, the teacher appears, right? They
Yeah.
say that. And
And
so
as we
all of a
start
sudden,
those, sorry, go ahead.
go on. No, that's all right, go on.
I was just going to say, as we start to take smaller steps in that direction too,
Mm.
more unfolds for us, and we, you know, can almost test the waters and see how it feels for us,
Yeah,
and then adjust course, right? So it kind of can
yeah.
snowball from there until you see,
Of course. Here's the thing, you can always go back, yeah?
yeah,
Like, I don't think that you will want to once you actually step into your true power. But you can always go back, right? But like, who wants to lie on their deathbed going, well, at least I didn't take any risks. Yeah,
yeah,
nobody. Like, I want to be on my deathbed going like, "Fuck, that hurt when I, you know, jumped out of a plane and broke both legs and my neck, and it's now what's killed me." You know, fuck, that was
yeah,
fun, but oops.
yeah. What an
Not
adventure life is, right?
I'm like, oh my God, at least I had this mediocre, comfortable, safe life where I did nothing exhilarating and I never had multiple orgasms and fucking, all of the things,
Yeah.
right? Like, come on, who's ever God said I've been saying that? Nobody. Like,
Nobody.
I'm
Nobody at
I'm
all.
shocked. So let's fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I think that the more we step into our authenticity and our realness, then the possibilities and the opportunities start coming to us to lead us further down that direction that we're meant to be. And I'm a big fan of thinking about the impact that we want to create in the world. And now a lot of people will look at the big impact and maybe they have a really big vision. Maybe it's so huge, in fact, that they're sitting here looking at that and they're just completely fucking overwhelmed, thinking like, oh, I'd love to do this, but it's overwhelming, it's scary, and it's just actually safer here to I know, never mind. I'm just gonna stay here
How
and
would I do it anyway?
right. And they don't have the entire map to
Right.
get there. And so they don't know where to even start. And oftentimes people just stay there. And that's why I think oftentimes, like you said, right, we kind of tend to stay small. We don't even really think it's a possibility for us to go big. But I want to encourage everyone listening just to give yourself that ability to think big, to think about the possibilities, because if someone else can do it, so can you. And if you shift from I don't know how to how can I, everything opens up, the possibilities, the opportunities. And if you start just to take small steps towards that big goal, even the smallest steps will start leading you down the path. And in my experience, when I'm following that, I'm following my intuition, I'm following my instincts for what is just the next step. So I'm not getting overwhelmed with all of the things. I'm just focused on the next step. Things start coming towards me and it makes it very clear. And then I can easily step into that. Now, it's not to say that easily is not like no fear and everything is just hunky dory. Absolutely not. We all know that the life of an entrepreneur is an ongoing, unexpected adventure. But if you're following those steps and those things that are lighting you up and you're really excited about what you're doing, it does make it actually a really fun adventure. And yeah, I love that. So I'd love, Sarah, for you to tell us a little bit about what you're most excited about right now, what you're working on, what you're putting together, how you're sharing, and just where we can find you and what you're up to.
Okay, so I have recently just got myself out there on TikTok actually. So I'd avoided it for the longest time because I was just like, who the fuck has got time to learn video editing? Not me. Who's creative? Not me. Limiting beliefs city. And I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm drowning. And then I thought, just fucking get on with it. And so I did. So
Sometimes
I've
we
been
need
having,
that, don't we? Just to get the fuck on with it.
yeah. So I did it. So I've been having fun over there on the tick of the talk. And what I realised is that actually what I'm really shit hot at is building communities. Like, I don't know if you know anything about human design, but I'm a manifesting generator, which means that I am here to, bring people together. And I'm like, the honey and the bees flying all around me, like, this is what I am. And people, I'm naturally a people person. And so what I decided to do was bring together all my business coaching, my life coaching, my recovery coaching, my fucking addiction experience, my recovery
Yeah.
journey, bring it all together under one umbrella and create a community, right?
Yeah.
So the concept of it is like, there's so many free communities out there, right? AA, blah, 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 all of those, right? Which are awesome. They absolutely are. This community I'm creating is going to be a paid membership. And there is a very specific reason for that. Well, two, actually. First of all, we used to freely spend money on coke, booze, crack, sex, whatever it was that we
Yeah.
fucking hooked on. We would not think twice about spending that money on it, right? By using that very money to invest in ourselves. So instead of paying to fuck our lives up, we're actually investing it in ourselves and a better future. That sends a powerful message to the universe and to your fucking subconscious. To your soul,
Absolutely.
right? That's
Putting
the
your
first.
money where your heart is, like it sends a big message loud and clear. Trusting in yourself is really necessary to do that, right? And that's a big symbolic gesture
Oh
of
my
I'm going to trust myself. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Love that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like you were willing to fund killing yourself, now fund saving yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
love
the
that.
second thing is that you show up differently when you've paid for something, right? Like if I paid 10 grand to be on this show, I would show up differently from how I would if I when I just come on for free, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's what people find value in. And I know that what I've got, all of my experience, all of my training, all of my, all of the wisdom that I've got, that I can make a huge difference in people's lives. And I want them to come into this community and be fully invested in themselves. My vision is that 10% or 20%, whatever it's going to be, of the profits that I make from it, I will give to a recovery charity, like an addiction charity. So I'm looking at a few different options at the moment. So it's like paying it forward at the same
Yeah.
time. But the community is going to be called Recovery Central because recovery is central to everything for us, right?
Love
And
that.
so, as I say, you want to set up a business while you're in recovery, I'm going to help you with that. You want to understand more about spirituality or working with your angels, I know if I can help you with that. But if you want just a place to come where you can make friends, people that are like you, that have been on the same path, people that won't judge you or shut you out, people that you, a place where you won't feel isolated. If you've had a bad day, come and tell us. Yeah,
Somewhere you
we're
can
going
be
to do
authentic,
calls.
right?
Yeah, we're
And
going to do
again,
calls,
creating that
we're going to have
space.
speakers, have a lot of
Yeah.
fun, like loads of different ideas of things to do that don't involve booze or drugs. Just a cool place to be, basically.
Yeah.
So Recovery Central will be coming to life, I think probably in May at some point.
Awesome.
So that is what I'm excited about. I just feel like this is the thing. It doesn't involve me creating anything. It doesn't involve me being anything aside from me, right?
And
And
holding the
that
space,
is
right?
where my power lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I have to do is just be me and make the space for the people that want it. Like, because I know it's just going to be such a super valuable thing. Like, I wish that I had somewhere like this to go to when I first went into recovery, because I just felt like there was a lot of things out there that I didn't quite align with, like different organizations or different fellowships
Yeah.
promote different kind of belief structures and stuff like that, where I want a place that's just for everybody. Yeah, I don't care if you call this higher intelligence God, Buddha, or whether you don't believe that there's anything there at all. I don't give a fuck. So long as you ain't getting on it, as long as you ain't drinking, to excess, whatever,
Yeah.
you're welcome here. Like, this isn't a place for rules, like where I'm going to tell you, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. This is a place to just be fucking you.
Yeah.
That is priceless. In recovery, being you is priceless. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I can tell, and I'm excited for you for it because I can just feel your energy and excitement, and I love when people take something, an experience, and create out of that. You know, either based on what they've learned or what they wish they had, because now you're able to pay that forward and really create something that appeals to people, that's really going to serve them. And
Yeah.
who doesn't want a place where they can be
And
themselves?
so part of the thing as well is going to be that I'm going to build it with the community. So I'm not going to say like, okay, this is where you're going to come in and I'm going to give you this and
Yeah.
this and this, and I'm going to teach you that and that and that. Like, it's going to be a place where we collaborate together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you want to know more about perseverance? Let's do something around that. Let's build something together. Whatever, like, it's a place where people's ideas are welcome and people can share their own stories of support and
Yeah.
encouragement for others, because bloody hell, every time someone shares a story with me, it's like, wow, okay, it helps me to connect some different dots I didn't even know weren't joined up.
Yeah.
um, and
There's so much to
so
be learned from just
uh-huh,
connecting with other people, right?
absolutely,
And I share a
absolutely.
similar vision with the group that I'm putting together on Facebook, the Conscious Creators Collective, this collective of conscious female entrepreneurs or change makers, I guess is a more accurate word, to just come together to collaborate, to share, to do life, relationship, and business their way, and just to find your next coach, client, best friend, business partner, whatever that looks like, just to come together and provide that safe space to be authentic and to do that explorative work that's going to be so expansive, just with some support around you, because not everybody has the support that they need to really push through and make it happen. So that's my vision with that.
Exactly.
So you mentioned TikTok. Where else can people find you? We will put some of the links in
Sure.
the show notes, but
Yeah.
where do you hang out most?
So mainly I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I am planning to show up more on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. All of it is the Recovery Witch. You'll share the links anyway. But yeah, I've got my own Facebook group as well. It's called Perpetual Motion. The link to that is on my bio on
Awesome.
my Facebook page. I can't miss it really.
Yeah.
And go ahead and check out my story. Like as I said, 1,100 people have seen this freaking thing so far. And actually, a lot of people have found a lot of resonance with it. So, I just hope that it helps.
I have no doubt, my beautiful friend, that it is making a massive impact and helping people. And I think, that's a vision with this podcast too, is just to share those stories, because we do know that they make a huge impact just hearing how people have overcome. So I appreciate you so much for sharing all of that. One last question I have for you, and that is, if you could go back in time to maybe young adult self, 18-year-old Sarah, and I would love you to share one piece of advice maybe you would have given yourself at that point in time that might have made a difference in your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to sound so cliched, Christy, but it has to be. Just know that you are going to do great things in this freaking life. And if you just knew who walked beside you in all of your endeavours, you would never feel fear again. And although things may sometimes look a bit funny and messy or not be what you might choose, actually, these experiences are giving you everything that you need to become the person that you are meant to be.
Yeah, there's always a lesson, isn't there? Even in the most uncomfortable circumstances, and especially so maybe in those uncomfortable circumstances, there's always a nugget, something that you can take that is absolutely going to propel you forward in your personal growth journey in life, and just take you to the next level of life, and whatever that might look like for you. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I've had a blast chatting with you.
Thank you, my darling.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. I trust you were inspired to take back your power and create your happy. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with women in your life who could use a little extra inspiration today. If you'd like to connect with myself and/or today's guest, you can find those details in the show notes. We would love to hear from you. If you've got an inspiring story to share, you can also apply to be a guest on the show at createyourhappy.ca. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.